Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Computing Lesson 3. You may be wondering, why have I got this background as my background for this meeting? Well, it's all going to make sense in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what this lesson is all about. Okay, so in this lesson, we are going to be undertaking a simulation. We are going to be participating in a simulation. This simulation is called The Dark Side of Elpmis, okay? So I'm just going to explain to you what it is. Before I do, because I'm sure you're very excited and you want to get started with your simulation, just to recap, what are simulations? A computer simulation is a program that models a real-life situation, and they let you try out things that would be too difficult or dangerous to do in real life, which is what you're going to be doing today. You're going to be doing a simulation that would be too difficult and probably take you a long time to do it in real life. So when might you use simulations? Well, a simulation might be used when the real life situation is too dangerous. This one is very dangerous. Takes too long. This simulation that you're about to do would probably take you a very long time to study and prepare for in real life. Is too quick to study or is too expensive to create. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to this simulation. So as I said, this simulation is called The Dark Side of Elpmis. In this simulation, you are going to be exploring space. You are all on a mission where something goes wrong. It's really, really bad. And your task is to save the stranded astronauts. Okay, so you are going to be going on a mission where something goes wrong in space, and your task is to save the stranded astronauts. You will need to investigate the planet's conditions and decide upon what equipment needs to be taken and solve the challenges on the planet. So you've got to decide when things go wrong and when the problems happen, what equipment is needed to help them, and how can you solve the challenges on the planet. Some of you might not make it to the end of the mission, okay, because the simulation allows you to choose options of things to do. If you don't choose the right option, it might end your mission there and you would have failed and not brought back the astronauts safely to their home planets. So make sure you're focusing, try to think of the right decision to make and consider your choices carefully. Okay, you really want to consider them carefully and what the impact of those choices may be. So, as I said, some of you might not make it to the end, but hopefully lots of you do, because you've not bought the correct equipment. I'm going to show you the different equipment that you might need to take in a second. Before I do, because this is a space simulation, there are some words that you may not understand. So I'm just going to go over those words to make sure that we're all up to date and are able to access all of this simulation. So atmosphere talks about the gases that surround a planet. So different planets have different types of atmospheres. Gravity is the force that centers people, so it pulls you down. In space, there is no gravity, which is why people float. Lots of different planets have different conditions and environments. For example, here is Mars, and you can see that it's very rocky, the environment on Mars, much different to Earth. Some of Earth is very rocky terrain, but actually lots of it is covered in forests, it's covered in water. So different planets have lots of different conditions and environment. Solar power is energy that comes from the sun, that comes from solar energy, which is the sun. Oxygen is the gas that we breathe. So we breathe oxygen through our nose and through our mouth. Unfortunately, in space, there is no oxygen. So these astronauts usually have a tank. This is this oxygen tank that they carry on their back, which gives them the air they breathe in their mask. Orbit just means to travel around in a circle, and particularly around something. All of our planets orbit the sun, so they all travel around the sun. That is the center of our universe. And planets. There are lots of different planets that you are going to see. So moving on, I've told you what your task is going to be for this simulation. You need to go on to do's, and it should pop up because I have set it. And there's two parts to this simulation. I'm not sure completely how long it is because I haven't done all of it myself, but I have gone through the first part. So click on the first part. You're going to start on part 1, which is the dark side of Elpmis, part 1, and then you're going to launch the simulation. I'm only going to show you a little bit of it because I don't want to show you too much because it will ruin it for you, and I don't want to make those choices for you. So before I show you what it is, you might want to keep this screen up to see all the different types of resources that you have that can help the astronauts and your shuttle on their mission. Okay, so you might want to have a pause of this screen just so you can keep that in mind, of all the different resources that you can use to help the astronauts on their mission. So I am going to stop sharing. I'm going to reshare my screen again. This time I'm going to log onto the Purple Mash website. So you've gone onto Purple Mash now, you've clicked on to-dos, and it's popped up with the dark side of ELPMIS. You click on the simulation and you are going to launch app. And you make sure you listen to each message before you click next. So as you can see, here is your first problem that you've encountered. There is a meteor shower that is approaching. You have different options that you can click on that will provide you with different outcomes. I could warn the shuttle that there's a meteor shower coming. I can make a hasty exit and save myself. I don't know what that would mean for the shuttle if they don't know about the meteor shower coming and I just go and save myself. Or I can click on this button here. I'm not going to tell you what to do because that is part of the simulation. That's your decision to make the choices in this simulation. So I'm just going to stop it there. There will be at some point a chance to message the people in the shuttle and ask them for help. You need to think about the questions that you ask them. They've said, we've managed to crash land just in time. We had to land on the dark side of the planet. That means that that side of the planet is completely dark. The shuttle has broken up. Meteors have damaged our voice communication, so they are unable to speak to other people. No power from our solar panels. Emergency oxygen will only last 3 days. So you've got well, in this simulation, it'll be 3 days, but actually it'll be a lot quicker than that because it's a simulation. All 6 of us are alive, but 1 has a broken leg and 1 is unconscious. That means he's not awake, but he's not dead. So we are unable to leave the shuttle. Repeat, we are unable to leave the shuttle. We need your help urgently. Please send ideas and possible solutions and rescue. You will have the opportunity to actually reply to this email. You might decide and ask them some questions. For example, what are the conditions in the planet? What is the environment like? What resources do you need? So you need to really use your imagination and try to solve and help these poor astronauts whichever way you can. Once you've completed that, then you can launch the second part of the simulation if you want to. And if you would like a challenge after that, I'm not going to show you the second part of the simulation because that's for you to do. If you would like a another activity after that, over here, I've also set this for all of you. You don't have to do this, it's optional, but you can decide what different equipment that you're going to take with you to put on the rescue shuttle to send to the astronauts. And you can choose them here, put pictures of them in here. And then you've just got to write a short justification of why you've chosen these resources to send to the astronauts. How would it help them? Okay. Hopefully you are all ready and prepped to start your simulation and to save the 6 astronauts and rescue them safely and bring them back to Earth. I hope you have fun in this simulation. You don't need to send your teachers evidence of you doing this because we can see on Purple Mash who has done that. I hope you really enjoy this simulation. and I will see you next week in the video. Bye, Year 3.